Let's say we were trying to build the best running back possible using guys from the modern day NFL era, meaning about the last 5 or 10 years. Well, the power aspect of it is really easy. I think it's Derrick Henry, and it's not particularly close. If you're looking at athleticism, I think we're going to go with Saquon Barkley there. As far as shiftiness with breakaway speed, that's probably Christian McCaffrey, maybe even Jahmyr Gibbs. As far as the frame, a guy who has the power of a fullback but can run like a track star, I think that's Todd Gurley. And the vision aspect of it, the elite patience, that comes from Le'Veon Bell. But if you were to take a little chunk of each one of those abilities and blend it together into one freak athlete with unbelievable poise and vision as a rusher, the closest thing you get is Nick Chubb. And I think that not only is he the best running back of the modern era, not only is he the guy who I would take on a carry-by-carry basis over anyone else, but he's also a painfully underrated back, and we're at risk of his legacy kind of being forgotten, and I want to make sure that doesn't happen. That is the premise of today's video. Now, before we get too far into this video, I need you to kind of change the way that you would look at this argument, because a lot of times when we're debating all-time rankings or legacies, people tend to focus on two things: base stats and longevity. Nick Chubb is not going to win a longevity argument. He suffered what was essentially a career-ending injury in 2023. I think it was the 6th year of his career. I say career-ending because he hasn't been the same since, and I don't think he will ever be the same. Chubb's prime is also different from your typical running back because his number 2 for most of those years was Kareem Hunt, who was widely accepted as a top 15, maybe even top 10 back in terms of talent. So if you look just purely at base stats and career numbers, he's going to get blown out of the water by most players, including Derrick Henry, who I think a lot of people would argue is the best pure rusher of the modern era. But what makes Nick Chubb a unicorn is his efficiency. He is the only running back in NFL history to average 5 yards a carry or more on 100 carries per year in each of his first 5 seasons. In fact, no one's even done that in each of their first 4 seasons. A lot of people will point to his offensive line as reason for these high efficiency numbers. Now, that's fair. It certainly helped him out, especially in years like 2020, where Cleveland had the best offensive line in the NFL. But the year before that, they had the 23rd ranked unit, according to PFF. And I would also point to Kareem Hunt, who, like we established earlier, was a very capable and talented back in his Cleveland days. He was running behind those same O-lines, and he never had a year with over 5 yards a carry with the Browns. I would also say that's true of just about any running back who we view as an all-time great. Derrick Henry has had multiple top 10 and even top 5 offensive lines in his career. Saquon Barkley's big breakout year with the Eagles was with a historically good unit. This is one of my favorite Nick Chubb runs of all time, mainly because the offensive line had very little to do with it. Like, immediately Sorensen has a chance to make this play in the backfield, but Chubb gets by him before squaring up with future Hall of Famer Derwin James and getting his 230-pound body in a pretty ridiculous angle to the ground, and he's so quick to cut this back in that James completely misses and is left on the ground. He breaks a couple more tackles. He's going to cut this in eventually before he meets up with another future Hall of Famer, Khalil Mack here, and just stiff arms him to the turf. And of course, in typical Nick Chubb fashion, he shows absolutely no emotion, no celebration, just kind of runs through the play, puts his pads on every day, goes to his day job, puts up 120 of the most efficient yards you've ever seen on your favorite team, and that's what he does. The unfortunate truth of the NFL is that highlight plays will get you a lot more recognition than yards after contact, efficiency, and overall just dirty running. That's part of the reason why Nick Chubb was one of the most underrated players of our generation, but I also think it's how quiet he was and his lack of swagger. This is a really cool touchdown run where he's got pretty much nothing doing at the line of scrimmage. He's got to make something happen, ends up juking 2 guys on his way to the end zone. But what other back do you know that's showing this little emotion, that's not trash talking at all on his touchdown celebration? And over time, I think there was a pretty crazy media bias that was created against Nick Chubb because he just wasn't a marketable player. Like, I've seen this Derrick Henry stiff arm probably 300 times before. This was the NFL video that every page was posting for years. What I don't remember seeing that many times is this play from Chubb where he's going up against a linebacker who's bigger and stronger than Earl Thomas and absolutely buries him in the dirt. If you look through a Nick Chubb highlight reel, I guarantee that a lot of you will be seeing these plays for the very first time because they weren't posted on the NFL's social media pages, they weren't talked about on ESPN or the national media, and that's the story of Nick Chubb's career, getting the job done in the most efficient yet boring way. Now, like I said in the intro, I think what makes Chubb so special and the best carry for carry pure rusher of our modern era is that he's a jack of all trades. But if there's one thing that he does better than I think anyone else who I've watched at least in a while, it's falling forward. So like this play right here, you got Khalil Mack wrapping him up, and let's note where we are. Let's say this is the 26-yard line. Two other Chargers right here, 22 to add support at the 30-yard line. He's going to drag these guys all the way to the 34. That's 8 yards when he should have been wrapped up all the way back at the 26. This is one of the primary reasons that his yards after contact numbers were so much better than any of the other top running backs from his era. It also contributes to that unbelievable efficiency. It's not just the O-line, it's how well Chubb fights for yards after the play. 4 Steelers wrapping him up at, let's say this is the 16-yard line, and he gets this all the way down to the 9. It's an extra 7 yards on that tackle alone. And you gotta love this one against Atlanta. Now, the first thing he does is read the defenders and the blocks. Like, 9 is about to seal him off to the outside. 54 is heading that way as well. Jesse Bates is working on the outside shoulder of Njoku, so you know that the cutback lane is gonna be your best option here. That's what he takes, and he ends up running into this, 320-pound nose tackle at about the 37, 38-yard line, but it's so tough to get him down. He ends up rumbling down to the 31. There are also a lot of plays that you can point to as examples of Chubb making his offensive line look better than they really were. Like, there is nowhere to go here. But Chubb knows the responsibilities of the defense. He knows that Owe is going to want to seal him off and not let him get outside the tackles here. So his first step is going to be really, really wide with that outside leg, like he's heading that direction. And he kind of plays into Owe's momentum here, lets his guy, the pulling guard, get a little block on him. And that opens up this little sliver right there. He's going to take that, show off the shiftiness, get by Owe, get by Humphrey. They still can't get him down on this play. He just runs out of bounds. And then you see more of that vision on this play, which you've been kind of seeing throughout this video. This is such a little sliver here, especially with the D tackle on the inside shoulder of 72, and this other D tackle kind of getting by your guard here. He can't break this to the outside though, so he's going to have to get a lot smaller than the 6 foot, 230 pounds he is. Just squeaks right through there. You're going to see 57 come from this right side and try to punch this ball out. Can't even get him on the ground. And of course, it's just this standing up, boring celebration that we constantly see from Nick Chubb. You gotta love it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, I open it up for debate in the comments. What kind of counter arguments do you have? What did I miss or not take into account? I'm really excited to hear your guys' thoughts. Look forward for weekly videos from me in the future. I'm really excited for that and to continue growing this channel. Really appreciate you guys for tuning in, and see you in the next one.